Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday evening introduction to LifeWave and the star of our show, X39, which is a product we'll talk about this evening. I'm your co-host, Robin Blank Mascari, along with my husband, Gregory. And what we do on these calls, so Gregory does a short presentation on a little bit about the company, the history, our founder, a little bit about the technology and science. And then we bring on our special guest. We have such wonderful doctors that join us on this call. And this evening we have Dr. Tom Acklin, and you're in for a treat with Dr. Tom, as you are with each and every one of our practitioners. And we'll talk a little bit, and then we open things up, and it's your turn to share your stories, to share your questions. And if you have them, please put them in the chat. And remember, we only talk symptoms, no disease states. We don't name anything. So let's get going. I'm going to turn things over to Gregory. Over to you, buddy.
Well, thanks, Robin, and good evening, everyone. And we're excited to talk to you about the stem cell revolution and LifeWave and X39 and David Schmidt, a lot of cool stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And welcome to the stem cell revolution. And from a personal note, I finally figured out what I want to be when I get older, younger. And I bet you there's many people on the call tonight that can relate to that. But let me ask you a personal question. If anything were possible, if you could wave a magic wand, what's one thing you would choose to experience differently in your health? Any one thing, what would it be? And what difference would that make for you? And let me just say that there's a possibility our products could help that to happen. So let me just make a quick disclaimer. Our products are not designed or intended to heal, treat, diagnose any disease. They do, however, help our bodies to get back into a more healthy, regenerative mode. And many times, wonderful things then begin to happen. So let's go ahead and talk about the stem cell revolution, because we believe everyone wants to look, feel, perform, and live younger. And certainly stem cells are the key because they're a vital part of our immune system that repairs and regenerates damaged cells in all of our organs, glands, bones, muscle, all the tissues throughout our entire body. But the problem is, the older we get, the less stem cells we have. And by age 60, only a small percentage remain. And sadly, the fewer stem cells we have, the faster we age and the slower we heal. So tonight, we're going to talk about how to put the brakes on the aging process. But what about stem cell injections? They become quite popular, but you know what? They're also quite expensive. They can be painful, risky, controversial. And you know what? You can spend thousands of dollars with no guaranteed results. Well, I'm happy to tell you, we've got some really good news, because you can look, feel, perform, and live younger with a historic breakthrough in stem cell activation. It's a new wearable technology in patch form. It's affordable, safe, non-invasive. It's drug-free. It's a patented form of phototherapy, which uses specific frequencies of light to increase and improve stem cell activity. This is the brainchild of David Schmidt, our visionary founder and CEO, who's not only a brilliant scientist and researcher. David is also a genius inventor with over 100, we're going to have to update this, 130 patents and patent pendings. And he's been on the leading edge of phototherapy research and science for over 20 years. David's already conducted over 90 clinical studies proving the efficacy of LifeWave phototherapy products, and many more studies are continuously in the works. So LifeWave as a company is a 17-year-old advanced technology company. It was founded back in 2004 based on an energy-enhancing technology David developed under a government contract for Navy SEALs to increase their strength, stamina, and performance without the use of drugs, stimulants, or caffeine. The technology turned out to be so effective, it's now used by world-class athletes around the world in almost every sport. I'm happy to tell you we have corporate headquarters and laboratory manufacturing in California, Utah, and Ireland, and we have global distribution to over 75 countries from our 14 global distribution centers. Now, the word is getting out, and LifeWave patches are now used by pro and amateur athletes around the world in almost every sport. And the media is beginning to notice, and you might too, if you start looking a little closer at some of your favorite athletes and see these auspicious little white patches on their bodies. So how does this amazing technology work? Well, it's based on a type of light therapy called photobiomodulation, and LifeWave patches contain very specific combinations of organic materials and nanocrystals. And when they are applied or near our body, they're activated by our body heat. Then they begin to re-emit very specific wavelengths of light, which stimulate targeted and beneficial biochemical responses in our body. And this is known as photobiomodulation, and it is the basis for our LifeWave phototherapy patches. Now, it's been a well-recognized and proven scientific principle that specific frequencies of light can cause very specific changes within our body. And for example, when we go out in the sun, a specific frequency of light causes our body to make vitamin D. We don't get a vitamin D download from the sun, but we do get a frequency download that activates our body to make its own vitamin D. And another frequency of sunlight causes our body to make melanin, the chemical that gives us a suntan. Well, LifeWave's patented technology is based on the same rock solid, well-recognized scientific principle. And I'm happy to say that for the last 12 years, our focus has been in the field of anti-aging and even beyond that to regenerative science. And in January of 2019, 3 years ago, we released to the global market the LifeWave X39 stem cell activation patch. And this truly is a historic and affordable breakthrough in stem cell activation. Some are calling it the holy grail of anti-aging restorative science. And we are actually doing what the multi-billion-dollar companies and big pharma have not yet been able to do. The X39 patch actually activates a very specific copper peptide that activates our own stem cells. And along with that, also alters gene expression for thousands of genes towards a younger and more vibrant you. So X39 truly is a game changer. It's a true breakthrough. And our inventor, founder, and CEO, David Schmidt, says, it's my greatest achievement yet. And yes, we have patents. Yes, we have clinical studies. And yes, we have tremendous field results proving that X39 is actually turning back our biological clock, helping people to look, feel, perform, and live younger. And for us baby boomers, this is very, very exciting news. So that's my little intro, Robin, for you and Dr. Acklin. So I'm going to stop the share and turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you, Gregory. It's a wonderful introduction to a very, very special company. We're so blessed to be part of LifeWave. And so now we get to introduce our doctor for the evening. And oh my gosh, the more I get to know this man, the more I love him. And he has this huge heart and deeply cares. And he comes to us as, you know, a classically trained MD in allopathic neuroscience and behavioral neuropsychology. There's a lot of big words in there, Dr. Tom. He practiced at Georgetown University Medical Center, and he's got an expertise in mind-body medicine. He just is an exquisite being that calls himself a writer, reader, speaker, and listener. I love that part. But one of Tom's major focuses in the world these days is the brain-gut connection, and realizing that the majority of illnesses that people are dealing with today come from an unhealthy microbiome. And he is on a mission to educate people, inspire people to heal that microbiome and have maximum health. He's a yogi, he's an author, he's a speaker, he's a gift to our community, he's a holistic healer and teacher. And we are thrilled to have Dr. Tom with us this evening. Good evening, Dr. Tom.
Holy moly, yes it is. You are wonderful. Thank you. Very, very, very kind words.
It's the Mutual Admiration Society. Don't we love this? So fun getting together regularly because I always get inspired and educated by you.
This was one of the blessings, you know, when we discovered this technology, and luckily the lady who I loved, a good friend of mine and practitioner, colleague, and if she hadn't said something about it, I never would have said yes. And luckily I, as an athlete, had a beautiful breakthrough. That was my first experience. And then I got to meet you. And so, yes, it is. It's a mutual admiration society because we got these practitioners, healers of all kinds, just elevating people and giving people back the kind of function that, that we all deserve. We all deserve to be 100%.
Well,
And
you
we
answered
deserve
the first
thriving
question
communities.
without me even asking. I love it. So as a doctor, as a practitioner, you got introduced by a trusted friend and practitioner. And, it's an interesting world we're living in these days. And a lot of practitioners, went into practice to, help people with their health. And sadly, our system kind of didn't allow them to do what they love to do, but LifeWave does. And we have thousands of practitioners. So we love having you on board and learning from you. So you got involved because a trusted friend and fellow colleague introduced this to you. So what a lot of people, Gregory talked about stem cells. He gave a little basic education, but from a, classical health practitioner perspective, why are activating your stem cells so important, especially now?
Well, how many of us are at 100%, right? And how many of us, when we look around, right, we've got loved ones, we've got colleagues, we've got a bunch of people around us who we can also realistically be a judgment, or that doesn't have to be a judgment of any kind. The body has a regenerative capacity. And when put in a place where it's got all the resources, yes, in my world, that means food and nutrients. And we target macronutrients, micronutrients, vitamins, and things like this. And it looks like that's mandatory these days as our food supply becomes less and less earthy, right? What the earth used to be. But when given those kinds of nourishments, we get to be 100%, and there is no aging, right? Gregory used the phrase stem cell revolution, which I love. Stem cell revolution, right? And not a new idea, of course. People have wanted to regenerate themselves since the beginning of time, and it's just the way. And all of a sudden, in the past couple of centuries, we had to start paying attention to it. Hey, how do we manage this regeneration thing, right? And it's becoming tricky. So since we got in trouble, people have been realizing, okay, now that we know cellular technologies and we understand physiology, and we've isolated that in the past couple of centuries. And then what's the Holy Grail? The Holy Grail is the stem cell, which can become any tissue in the body and also gives direction to all of the other tissues that already know what they are, but need regenerative poke in the ribs. They still need their instigation. So we've been chasing stem cells. Everybody's been looking for it for decades. And we even knew, we're going to talk about GHK peptide today. We even knew about GHK copper peptide 50 years ago. Yeah. And huge research about that. And it turns out that the GHK peptide that David isolated, talk about a visionary, right? Talk about a guy at 100%. The other thing that Gregory said that jumped out for me was his greatest invention yet. And this is a guy who, he's going to keep going for sure. Like there's more coming, but this is exciting because 2 years ago, he came out with X39, which is one of the pinnacles of our product line, of our technologies, right? And it was his grand slam. It was his holy grail. And it's nothing that you have to put in the body. It's a phototherapy technology, and it's wonderfully exciting, not dependent on those other mechanics that we were talking about with the biochemistry.
Oh, that was beautiful. And you brought up the copper peptide already. Gregory was referring to the star of our show, the X39 stem cell activation patch. It's really the GHK patch, but most people don't know what GHK is. So we do invite everyone to do your own research. Or if you're a practitioner and you are familiar with pubmed.gov, go there, go to your favorite search engine, because in the scientific world, it's the holy grail of health, healing, and regeneration. So let's talk about this technology and this product and what it does for people, and what can people expect when they start to use the X39 patch.
Well, the first thing I noticed was stamina in my athletic work. I was in what I thought was pretty decent shape. I actually was talking to a friend earlier today. I said, "What's your favorite thing?" And she said, "The unexpected." So what can people expect is that thing that is so out of the box that you can't even see it yet. Yeah. And healthy people who use the technologies find, wow, I thought I was healthy last year. This is how it feels to be 100%, right? And people who are struggling find some pretty nice, quick, and powerful recovery. What that looks like, it can be anything. It can be folks who want to breathe better these days. It can be wanting better cardiopulmonary function. It could be better digestion. It can be, we're all, this is the second week of the new year. Who remembers their resolutions? Anybody? Right? We're fond of having to force ourselves to do something, right? I want to force myself to eat less sugar. I want to force myself to exercise. I want to force myself to go to sleep better, earlier, etc. And with these technologies, we don't have to force ourselves. People find the body, the physiology is actually supported, the hormonal balance is supported, and a lot of those things that we want come along more easily. So we're not here to make diagnoses and talk medicines and whatnot, but if people want to get off meds, I've had some pretty surprising medication tapers and people who even started experimenting on themselves, which is surprising, right? So you get some mental clarity, you get some emotional tenacity, you get some patience, you get in a better mood, and then all of a sudden you start doing some experiments on yourself and you decide, hey, maybe I won't take that medication today and we'll see what happens.
Mhm. So things get better. I love the way you said unexpected things. I mean, most people know I started because I was researching stem cell injections for a bone-on-bone knee with severe pain for a long time. And, I put it at the top of my spine, and then a week later, my knee pain was gone. It's like, huh? And then my hair changed. And, when the body is, one of the things that copper peptide does is, as we're making over 4,000 genes younger and healthier, our body's creating more collagen. So those fine lines and wrinkles get better, and that's fun. And, and then this is my fun surprise, the finger that was stuck like this for 20 years.
Boom.
I know. And so it just, and the beauty of stem cells is they have this innate wisdom to go where they're most needed. So who is this product for, Dr. Tom, and who is it not for?
Well, it's for folks like you who once moved in a particular way, who might not think they could do that again and then want to surprise themselves. All right. So we do get new joint comfort and flexibility for sure. New athletic interests, right? A need to move. And so it becomes easier to move. And it's also an accelerant. It's interesting, the body holds on to memories, and old athletes, if and when they put themselves back in shape, the body remembers that function. Yeah. And it comes back. So old athletes, if you stop playing your favorite round of golf and you want to get back on the golf course, it's for you. If we're experiencing a change in our mood or our anxiety levels, and who isn't these days, right? This is certain. I wish I could slap X39 on the whole planet right now, especially our National Institutes of Health up the road, but that's another subject. But it's for people who want to do well. And it's also for people who have been doing nice things for themselves, and eating well and taking good supplements, and maybe even getting, massages or chiropractic adjustments, et cetera, and doing nice things, but not seeing results. And this puts the body back into a place where it actually can receive that therapeutic, which is why we're so lucky to work with so many different kinds of practitioners. And it's because they use these technologies and they see their massage work better, or they see their PT/OT work better. Yeah.
I love that. And I think Dr. Nicholas says it enhances the clinical outcome, whatever your practice is. Things get better. So is there anyone who should not be using this technology?
Well, if you're really in a very, very fragile place, if you're purposely suppressed for some reason, and especially immunosuppression, if you're post-organ transplant, whatnot, and the docs have you purposely in a fragile place, you probably don't want to instigate too much but even there, the body has a wisdom. So we say not to use it after organ transplant, but consult your doctor, because it's still a nice idea. It's just that we haven't done clinical trials on that, and we're not going to.
No. And thank you for sharing that, because the company is science-based, and the only claims we make do have clinical proof. And the company's constantly investing millions and millions of dollars to continue to do the research, and it just keeps getting better and better. I love waking up knowing I'm going to hear a miracle story. So when can people expect to notice something from utilizing the X39?
I like to talk to people about what would it look like in 90 days, just to set their expectation, after we find out what it is that they're struggling with. And so a good idea is to say yes to a 90-day commitment, 30, 60, 90 days. Many people see it very early. I saw it within the first week. We have some other technologies too that are, X39 is a major builder of the Holy Grail from the inside out, right? So not everybody notices X39 right away. We do have some other pain relief technologies, for example, noticeable in seconds, literally sometimes, and functional metabolic stuff that's noticeable. But realistically, you want to give yourself a shot at this thing, and I think I'd say probably 75% of the people I've shared it with, and that's been hundreds of over the past year. I'd say 75% of them have seen something within the first couple of weeks.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, is there any contraindications, anything that could go wrong, could harm people? Is there any reactions that could be less than pleasant?
There are no contraindications, and there are no medication interactions. There's nothing like that. There's nothing actually in the patch that goes into the body, right? This is, as Gregory described brilliantly, it's a photobiomodulation. So it reflects the normal resonance of the body and the normal things that are going on in the body. So to your last point, could there be anything unpleasant? It actually will make the body better communicator. And there are a lot of folks with a lot of chronic issues and that have been suppressed with medications or chronic scarring or things like this. And as the body reawakens, it's going to start telling the truth about what happened back then, right? And because we're actually it's a repair capacity, and we step back in time, and all of a sudden the body's in a place where it actually can repair that thing that was injured last year, right? Inflamed last year and scarred off or something like that. So for folks who are fragile, yeah, we have different ways of starting slowly. We talk about the patch 12 hours on, 12 hours off. The off component is actually very important, so the body remembers. And so for some folks who are very fragile, and that's why it's important to work with team and somebody who's already knowledgeable in the patches and can advise. Somebody like that who's on multiple medications, for example, or has multiple medical issues, we can start them a little bit more slowly. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Because it's definitely working, and the body will definitely do the right thing, but sometimes, and even though we know that's good, it's not so fun for the patient, for the client sometimes.
That's true, because when those damaged cells get regenerated, sometimes they slough off, can create some additional discomfort. I had that in my upper arm from an old injury, and then when it was better, it's temporary. That's the beautiful thing. And so sometimes feeling is healing, and it will pass. And it may take hours, days, or weeks, but you're going to be better because of it. So are you ready to open up for some questions from our audience?
Sure.
Okay, we got a bunch tonight. And someone is asking about an antibiotic resistant infection in their leg. What would you recommend for that?
Well, patch technologies will support the medical care. So the first thing I would do, and I like everybody to do this, tell your doc or your whoever's watching you closely, tell them, hey, I've decided to do this. I'm going to do this for 90 days. Don't ask them, hey, doc, can I do this? Do you know what this is? Because they're not going to know most of the time. You say to the doc, I've decided, I've stumbled on a technology. I've heard some great things and I'm very excited about this. Will you watch me carefully? Right. And along the way, take my blood work now, take it in 90 days. So to the leg issue, so the leg, depending on what it is, and any bug that's causing trouble is throwing a tantrum because the other bugs that are supposed to be there are not there. And the skin is a brilliant, elegant organ that has a lot of different bugs on it. And I'll just put a plug out right now. One of the strangest things we're doing as public health initiative right now is sterilizing our hands. It's actually one of the most detrimental things you can do. It takes away your immune system. Our skin has a built-in immune system, and there are hundreds of different species of bacteria there. And to the extent that you're sterilizing it, you're taking away your first line of defense.
So is there a certain patch you'd recommend for someone that's dealing with that?
Mary Beth, I'd be happy to talk with you all. Let me, but we, am I here?
Yeah. Yeah.
But as far as, we have two technologies that actually optimize circulation. One of them is Ice Wave, and it's the one we market for pain mostly. And it's a 2-patch system. And the reason it heals the pain or helps the pain is because it actually lets the body complete the episode, right? It completes the tantrum. It's not a turning off of the inflammation response. It's actually a forwarding of you. And it's because it floods those capillary beds with all the proper nutrients that are supposed to do that. You could try Ice Wave at either end of the wound. And you can also put Energy Enhancer. It's our other 2-patch system on the bottoms of the feet, right behind the ball of the foot.
Beautiful. Okay. So Gary would like to know what patches work best for someone who has fluid retention all over their body.
Yeah, again, it's a capillary issue and, often a renal issue, and fluid retention it could be a cardiac issue. There are other systemic things there. So X39 is really the foundation game. If it's a heart issue, we have a cardiopulmonary optimized scene. Instigators of all of our muscle tissue. So it's great for all of our muscle tissue, not the least of which is the heart, which is our one. Talk symptomatic as far as the lady with the leg as well is we have a patch called Eon, which is a fantastic nervous system stabilizer. And a lot of it's and the flexibility of it, opening, closing, changing in blood pressure, that's actually a neurological issue, right? It's a neuroelectric control of the peripheral tissue. And so Eon is a great stabilizer. It doesn't solve the underlying problem, but it might be a really nice symptomatic thing too. And Alavita might be a really nice choice.
Now, I heard recently from one of our doctors that fluid retention could be caused from a mineral deficiency and the body's not absorbing the hydration. Is that
almost always?
Almost always. And most people do have a mineral deficiency, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Soil's depleted, food's depleted. Right.
Yeah, when you think of the vascular tree, you think of
You're cutting out a little bit for us.
Dr.
Tom, you're
the proper salts that are supposed to be dissolved, the electrolytes that are.
Okay.
Oh, am I back?
Yep, you're back. You're just cutting out a little bit here and there, so we're missing
My bad.
some of the valuable information you're sharing.
I'm so sorry. I'm off my normal Wi-Fi over at a friend's place for a gig and doing the right thing, talking to you guys for an hour.
Okay, well, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, can we find articles in PubMed that specifically mention our patches? Louisa's asking. Do you know the answer to that one? No, we lost you again. I'm sorry, everyone. So PubMed shows a lot of different research on the copper peptide. Okay, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. We actually have quite a few white papers published, both from within the company, our private research, and published in major journals on lifewave.com. And if you click on the science tab, you can, science geeks can dive in. That's actually one that got that. Once I saw what this company had done and the legacy of their work, I was just floored. So for me, that was a kid in the candy shop. There are, you were talking about the thousands of different metabolic functions of GHK copper peptide. One of the men who inspired David so much, Dr. Lauren Picard, if you Google Dr. Lauren Picard, and you can see, not only who he is and his half century of work, but you will find stunning publications on research, and those are accelerating dramatically too. It's in these past years. It's actually, since we were talking about skin integrity before, one of the things stem cells do is instigate fibroblasts, right? So fibroblasts are sort of the general on the field inside the skin, and collagen and elastin and all of the matrix there in the interstitial space. And fibroblastic integrity is just an expression. Skin integrity is just an expression of fibroblast integrity, and fibroblast integrity is an expression of stem cell integrity. You put that back in order, and so we know that. And what I just gave you is the old guy's mechanics version, right? Such and such does such and such does such and such. It's more than that. It's an ocean. It's and GHK copper peptide is responsible for instigating not just stem cells, but a lot of those other generals on the field, and the colonels and the foot soldiers, and in ways that we don't know. So that one tripeptide helps the assembly of enzymes. It helps the assembly of all tissues. It helps many inflammatory processes, both forward and backward. Right? A lot of times the body needs to downregulate something, and there's a wisdom to the body. And it's interesting how with GHK copper peptide, a lot of the things that we don't even know the mechanics for yet, the biochemistry for, can be downregulated to look like it was supposed to look like when we were 25. So we handle inflammation, you get the feeling there.
It's so exciting to have the clock, the biological age change. I mean, the chronological age change, but the biological age go the other way, and things get better and better and better. I'll be 68 on my next birthday in March, and I'm feeling better than I have in years. And that's so wonderful. Okay, Anne Marie Dixon would like to know, someone's got some health issues that involve stagnant lymph and swelling in the legs. Must be the topic for the evening here.
Yeah.
So you want to go back and share what you shared before, or some new things on that one?
I think we covered it pretty well.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Since you mentioned the minerals, I will tell people, and since we already, we mentioned sterilizing the outside of our body. When we sterilize the inside of the body, all of our metabolic functions are taken offline. The human body is not meant to be just Homo sapien tissue. It's important that we have all the proper bacteria and virus and parasites and whatnot. And as you pointed to earlier, without all of those functions, the minerals that we chew and swallow, if you have a B vitamin or a mineral formula, or even eating great food, if they don't make it to the target tissues and they're not actually in the serum and they're not in the vascular flow in our vascular tree, then the body's not going to do the kinds of repair that it knows how to do, right? Which is, again, why this is such a great almost rescue technology. And it doesn't replace the lifestyle changes, but it enhances the body's immediate function, right? So that's first order of business, because thank God we have emergency intervention, and it makes those changes easier. So almost everybody with a vascular issue, any kind of edema, any kind of insufficiency, any kind of is always a dietary issue, always.
So
And there are lots of different ways to go about doing that.
is what David Schmidt says. We have to do our part. You know, the patches are miraculous, but it's the body doing the healing, and we've got to give it the right food as medicine. And food can be, as you teach all the time, food is either poison or medicine. And it's time for us to pay more attention to that one. Okay, a few more quick ones. What part of the body, Jerry's asking, which part of the body is most effective to patch to gain the maximum benefit from X39? Good question.
That's a good question. Yeah. So we say it's a total body activation, and it is. And it actually doesn't even need to be on your body. If it's within about 3 inches of the surface of the body, it's doing those things that Gregory pointed to, which is it's close enough to the electromagnetic field, the infrared field of the body, that it can do its work. So it can be anywhere. As you mentioned, Robin, we've done the clinical trials were based on 2 points, one on the back of the neck on C7, just under C7, and one on the belly button, just under the belly button, a couple of finger widths below the belly button. So that's what we tell people is that's where we've proven the effects. But it really can be anywhere. And a lot of times people will take off the patch they wore yesterday because these are single-use patches. Yeah. And we say they're good for between 10 to 20 hours. So there might still be some juice left in the one that you take off. And it's nice. Some people, I know you put them on your pets, and some people actually take the one that they had yesterday and put it in their pocket. And so it's okay to wear more than one as well.
Yeah, that's really good to know. And yes, we have 5 animals and they all wear patches.
Outstanding.
One of them just had a surgical procedure, and she got her own new patches, and I took her in for her post-op, and the vet was like, she didn't bruise. She's not discolored. She's not swollen. She's healing so fast. And that is one of the great gifts of the copper peptide, is accelerated wound healing. And Gregory just had oral surgery, and he didn't have any pain. And you know, his doctor was amazed too. So we're really blessed. Okay, we're going to take, let's see, one more here. And this is from Dr. Pam. What about, what patches would work best for someone who has tremors and weakness?
Well, again, it's there's a metabolic deficiency. Yeah. Eon is a fantastic neural stabilizer. So we market that for stress and anxiety, and it looks like it's a brain thing. Tremors can be central, of course, and they can be peripheral. It could be anywhere in the nervous system, but Eon's a real nice stabilizer. And somebody who's got that level of tremors, and I don't know if they're, withdrawal tremors and diurnal, if there's a rhythm to them and they show up sometimes and not others, that can be withdrawal issues. But if it's an essential tremor, X39 is a fantastic start point, right? If it's somebody who's got tremors as the 4th or 5th problem, again, you want to be real careful and move slowly. So Eon's a very nice security blanket for people. Yeah. And also Nirvana is a really nice, gentle security blanket. We have a patch called Nirvana, and it's great for mood. It's great, right? It's just like so it's for folks who aren't feeling great. Yeah. And one step more careful than Eon is Nirvana. And I've done that with a couple of folks who I knew were going to have a little bit of a tricky walk into their first month. Start with Nirvana for a couple of days, then Eon for a couple of days, and then you can put an X39 on them.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your great wisdom. We love it. You're such a gift to our community, Dr. Tom, and I want to thank everyone
Thank you, Rob.
us this evening. For those of you that are guests on the call, please get back to the person who invited you and get started. It just gets better and better as time goes on. And I've never had this much fun helping people feel better in my life. And every day I wake up and I get to just hear great stories from people. So get back to the person that invited you. We have a wonderful customer program, and we also have a wonderful program if you like to share. There's a generous compensation involved, and lots is going on with this company. We have a new patch being launched this month, and we're going to be sharing some great things in the future about that. I'm hearing some wonderful stories, everything from, increased athletic performance to muscle density to bone density to all kinds of great things. So exciting times ahead, and it just keeps getting better. So thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Wonderful to have you with us. And this will conclude our call. Thank you. Bye, everybody.